3 years ago, this man was untouchable. Not competitive, untouchable. The kind of player who made a major field feel smaller just by showing up. At 41, that should still be true. The body is there. The experience is there. Everything that made him one of the most dominant players of his generation should still be working. Something went wrong. Not the kind of wrong that happens to every player eventually. The slow fade, the ranking dip, the graceful step back. This is different. This is the kind of wrong that has people inside the sport quietly asking questions they do not want to say out loud. The kind of wrong that makes his 2025 results look less like a bad year and more like a warning sign that something deeper has broken. What actually happened to Dustin Johnson, the full picture, not the surface version, is a story most people have not heard completely. There are details reported in fragments, things he admitted himself that never got the attention they deserved. When you line all of it up together, the picture that forms is genuinely uncomfortable. The specific detail that explains everything is coming. But first you need to understand exactly what was at stake. To understand how far this has fallen, you have to remember what the top looked like. DJ did not just win. He won in a way that felt inevitable. When he was in contention on a Sunday, the rest of the field was essentially playing for second place. That is not exaggeration. That is what 135 weeks at world number 1 produces. Third on the all-time list behind only Greg Norman and Tiger Woods. A Masters won by a margin that made Augusta look manageable. A U.S. Open at Oakmont closed out by 3 shots on one of the most punishing layouts in the sport. Whistling Straits in 2021 was the last time the world saw that version of him fully. 5 matches, 5 wins. A Ryder Cup performance so complete it silenced any conversation about whether his best years were behind him. 4 years have passed since that week. The equipment relationships told the same story the results did. 18 years with one club manufacturer, 15 years with the same apparel brand. Those partnerships do not last that long by accident. They last because both sides believe the ceiling has not yet been reached. The industry was confirming publicly, in the language of long-term contracts, that Dustin Johnson was a player built to last deep into his 40s. Then something changed, and the people closest to him saw it before anyone else did. Which is precisely why what followed is so difficult to process. Because the decline did not arrive loudly. There was no injury announcement, no public falling out, no single moment the cameras caught that explained everything. Instead, there was a quieter, more unsettling kind of erosion. The kind that only becomes visible once the damage is already done. The majors started telling the story first. A player of DJ's stature earns automatic entry into every major through performance. Masters wins carry 5-year exemptions. U.S. Open titles carry decade-long passes. Those exemptions are not just administrative details. They are the sport's formal recognition that a player belongs in the biggest rooms without needing anyone's permission. His 5-year exemption from the 2020 Masters win expired. His decade-long U.S. Open exemption from Oakmont runs out after 2026. Getting into the biggest events on the calendar stopped being automatic. It became dependent on other people deciding to extend an invitation. A former world number 1, waiting to be let in. At the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow in 2025, he opened with a 78. He needed a special exemption just to be in that field. Critics asked publicly whether the exemption should have been granted at all. He missed the cut at the Masters. He missed the cut at the U.S. Open. His best major result across the entire year was a T23 at the Open. For DJ, that is not a result. That is survival. That 78 at Quail Hollow did not happen without a reason. Something had already been broken for over a year before that round. And the full explanation is not what anyone expected. On the circuit he competes on, the collapse looked identical. Dead last at one event, 26 shots behind the champion. Dead last at another event, earlier in the same season. The man who won the inaugural individual championship in 2022 and collected $18 million in prize money propped up the entire field twice in a single year. His last win anywhere came in February 2024. What happened in the days directly after that win is the detail that reframes everything. Now here is where the story becomes something most people never heard. In June 2022, DJ made a decision that changed the entire trajectory of what followed. The reported figure attached to that decision was in the region of $125 million. He left the PGA Tour and joined the breakaway circuit that had divided professional golf down the middle. At the time, he was ranked 13th in the world. The move made rational sense. More money, less travel, less grinding through 72-hole cuts every single week. The problem that nobody fully explained at the time is that the official World Golf Ranking does not count events on that circuit. Every week DJ competed and performed, the ranking system recorded nothing. Not a bad result, not a missed cut, nothing. The number next to his name drifted in one direction, not because his game collapsed immediately, but because the system measuring elite professional golf had stopped acknowledging his results entirely. From 13th in the world to 578th. That is not a dip, that is erasure. But the ranking is not even the most painful part. What DJ admitted publicly in January 2026 is the detail that makes the whole picture land differently. TaylorMade, the only equipment company he had worked with since turning professional in 2007, chose not to renew his contract at the end of 2024. 18 years. Finished. The first public signal came at the season opener in Riyadh, when DJ appeared without a TaylorMade logo for the first time in his professional life. Adidas had already ended its 15-year apparel partnership in 2023, both gone within 2 years of each other. Then DJ broke his driver. Not metaphorically. The club physically broke shortly after his last win in February 2024. What followed was an entire year of professional golf spent searching for a replacement that worked. His own words from January 2026. "I literally spent the whole year trying to find a driver. After I won in Vegas, I broke my driver. I literally spent the whole year trying to find one." For most professionals, an equipment change is an inconvenience measured in weeks. For DJ, it became a crisis measured in seasons. His entire career was constructed on one foundation, the most consistent, most destructive driving game in professional golf. Length with accuracy. Power with control. Remove that, and what remains is an elite ball striker who cannot locate the version of himself that made everything else function. He described it directly. The weeks he drove it well, he had a chance to win. The weeks he did not, there was nothing to build on. For 2 full years, the good weeks became rare. The cruelest detail is the timing. TaylorMade departed at the exact moment he was desperately searching for a driver he could trust. He lost his equipment partner during the worst equipment crisis of his career. Butch Harmon told reporters before the 2025 Masters that he was not fully convinced DJ was 100% committed anymore. He pointed to Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau, players who made the same switch and have since won major championships. The difference between those players and DJ across 2025 was visible every time the cameras found him on a Sunday afternoon. So where does that leave him now? January 2026. DJ speaks publicly for the first time about what the year actually cost him. He says the driver situation consumed everything. He says he finally found something that worked around the midpoint of the season. Too late to change the results, but enough to give him a foundation going forward. He signs a new multi-year contract. He is not stepping back. His stated retirement plan, 6 more years of grinding, then fishing. Personally, I think the game is still there, but the window for a major run is narrower than he may want to admit. Do you think DJ gets back to contending, or is that version of him gone? Drop your answer below. Rory McIlroy at 37, 1 year older than DJ was when he walked away from the PGA Tour, is playing some of the best golf of his life. That comparison is not an accusation. It is a mirror held at an uncomfortable angle. DJ is not finished. The desire is genuine. The 2026 season is not written yet. But the version of him who went 5-0 at Whistling Straits, who closed Oakmont in 3 shots, who made every Sunday leaderboard feel electric, that version is currently watching those moments happen from the outside. At 41, the distance is not getting shorter. If this kind of golf story matters to you, subscribe. These go beyond the leaderboard, and there are more coming.